guys, welcome to the HVAC Diaries. Today is Thursday, December 21st, and this is my weekly HVAC vlog brought to you by New Paragon. So I'm taking a bit of a gamble today, doing this vlog on a Thursday. We're trying really hard to take tomorrow off to make like an extra long weekend before Christmas. And so far it's looking good, so we'll see. We don't have anything planned, but if the phone rings, then obviously we'll go and take care of that before the weekend. Are you guys all ready for Christmas? Everyone seems to be asking me that right now. For me, Christmas feels less festive every year. And I think it's probably because I don't have any kids in my life. I have a niece and a nephew, but they live across the country, so I will get to see them on Zoom on Christmas morning, but there's just no like excitement anymore. But anyway, that's not why we're here. We're not here for a Christmas vlog. We're here for HVAC vlog. So let's go. I think the most exciting job of this week was the heat exchanger we replaced in a carrier rooftop unit. It's the one we found a couple of weeks ago with that rusty hole. I had one person comment on my Instagram. They were like, I didn't realize the heat exchanger was that big. And it's like almost the size of me. Comes in a massive box. And the thing is so fragile too. So. So that day was the one and only day that Dad came to work with us. And I think he was really excited to be in doing the job because he was so hands-on. I really wish that I had moved my camera around a little bit. I thought it would be a cool idea to have it sit in one spot and kind of like look down on us while we were doing the job. I moved it one time to get those screws on the inside, and I got a pretty cool shot out of it.
So yeah, when you take all these guys here, yeah, all those on the top.
But yeah, the rest of the shots were all from the top, and they're kind of boring for the job, especially because there's not really much to say about the job. To change the heat exchanger, you just have to basically disassemble the whole heating section of it. Just disassembled everything. There's 1,000 screws in there. Then the whole plate on the inside comes out. We got a new plate. And then the heat exchanger is free, and then you can pull it out of the side of the unit. Once we're finished installing a new heat exchanger, we will take the panel that covers the heat exchanger, like access panel, and we'll put it into the supply. And then you fire it up. And then it burns off all the oil from the factory. Ugh. We took the old one off to scrap metal, and we got a whole whopping $4.90 for it. Yeah. Bye forever. Oh yeah, making all the extra dollars. Oh no. This week, my brother and I also looked at a reach-in freezer, at our local lobster supplier guy. Very cool. Ew. Very cool, thank you. We take care of his lobster tanks. And his walk-in coolers and freezers, but this time he just had a reach-in like standalone freezer. That had high on it. The alert or the alarm says high, H-I. It doesn't tell you what the temperature is, it just says high. Okay. It always boggles my mind when we come to these little standalone systems that they don't have any access ports. Like, there's no way for you to check the refrigerant. They're all closed systems and there's no way to get in. Well, there is a way to get into it, but like for the lifetime of this machine, which could be 15 to 20 years, it's gonna need to be serviced at some point and pressures are gonna have to be checked. Anyway, so we have this little thing called a bullet piercing valve. And you basically fit this thing onto the pipe. It clamps right on. It's got 3 little like screws, I guess, to tighten it on. And then it's got a little piercing thing. So you pierce it and then it opens up a little access where you can put your regular gauge fitting on. Now, once again with my camera, I thought I'd be all fancy and get a shot from the inside because those always turn out really cool. However, it was the worst view because there was something right in the way, and anyway. So what we found on that little system was that the compressor was no longer pumping. It would fire up, it would work, but there was no change in pressures. And then what Trevor was finding was the suction pipe, which is usually the cold pipe, that was getting warmer and warmer and warmer as we ran. Just getting hotter. So if that suction temperature goes up when we turn this thing off after it's been running a while, we're expecting it to go down, but if it goes up...
No, we're expecting it to stay the same.
Stay the same.
But the fact that that's going up now...
It's climbing, yeah.
Is...
Suction, it should be
let's try it.
Going down.
I'll pull it out and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. It's going up.
So if that goes up a small amount, it's double.
It's going up like a large amount. So now we're running again, and we're still climbing. So we started calling around to our suppliers to see, you know, the availability and cost of a new compressor for this thing. And it turns out the system is a European unit and is obsolete. They no longer make them. So a new compressor, like a crossover one that we can fit in it, sort of retrofit it in, is almost $2,000. Almost $2,000 for a compressor only. That doesn't include our labor and time and materials to get the thing in and running. So the guy who owns it, he's like, well, this machine is like 12 years old. He's like, I don't know if I want to sink that much money into it. You know, what else is going to go wrong and when? So he's considering buying a new freezer, which it makes sense. But again, it's so sucky that this equipment now is so disposable. And it also just sucks for him at this time of year. I mean, Christmas is this weekend. It's a busy weekend for him. He's got a cooler and a freezer kind of right by the door where he serves people. And he's like, those doors are open all because we were just like, it should hold temperature for a few days if you just, you know, try to keep the doors closed. And he's like, at this time of year, those doors are wide open so much. So he's like, I need to figure it out. We were called to another office where we've been taking care of their HVAC for a number of years. And out of nowhere, they decided to upgrade their system or change it for whatever reason. But they like ignored us and they didn't even tell us that they were doing it. They didn't even like give us an opportunity to quote or anything, which is really kind of frustrating. So they got a different company to come in and replace the 2 heat pumps. And they say that they have had problems with them since day one. They're like, it just doesn't work. It doesn't seem to be working properly. So they have us come in, they pay us extra money to take a look at their system. And honestly, it was kind of a head scratcher because everything was running as it should have been. Like both indoor and outdoor fans were running. The coils were clean. I mean, considering this is a 9-month-old system, everything's clean. Everything's running as it should. Pressures are good. Like we don't have a refrigerant leak anywhere, but something is just not working. So we're scratching our heads, la. So finally goes up onto this, like onto their ceiling roof thing. So it's a warehouse and then they've got some built offices on the inside of the warehouse, if that makes sense. So if you go onto the roof of the office, you're still inside the warehouse. Got it? So he starts crawling along and he's like on this really wafer thin board that's gonna break under him any second. So he's balancing on all the little joists, the beams, trying so hard not to fall in. Actually, he was chanting as he was going. He was like, I'm not gonna fall, I'm not gonna fall, I'm not gonna fall, I'm not gonna fall through. Like, oh my gosh. And you know what he found, you guys? You know what he found? He found the dampers to all of the ductwork where they installed this new system. They were all closed. They were all closed. So all the heat that we're trying to get into the offices, it was going to those diffusers down the ducts and just hanging out there, like with nowhere to go. Who starts a new system with all the dampers closed? It doesn't make sense. We had a call to this European deli place. Actually, it's not a deli. They more like make this stuff. They hand make pasta, like tortellini and ravioli and stuff like that. Super cool. Their freezer was not getting down to temperature. It was just a little bit on the warm side. So we took a look at it and the evaporator coil was totally frozen over, like completely. Look at that solid ice in there. Oh, it's so hard to see. Solid ice. That's a fan blade. That's ice. Whole thing is covered in ice. So we took a look at the defrost timer and wouldn't you know, it was faulty. So we replaced the defrost timer. Actually, we thought we got lucky because we had a defrost timer in the truck. Haha, look what we have in our truck. Just a thing we need. but we had the wrong one. We had the, okay, so they're both Paragon defrost timers. We had the 8045 and we needed the 8145.
Well, now you'll have both in there ready.
And this is something that I learned in school, and we're gonna nerd out for a little bit. I brought some notes from my binder to show you, and also I brought a defrost timer. I think this is super cool, so bear with me for a little minute while I explain this. So the two different timers, there's the 8045 and the 8145, and both of them look identical. They both look just like this, but there's one big difference, and that is the 8045 is time initiated and time terminated. So it goes by time. It'll start and it'll stop on time. Say if your defrost time is 40 minutes, after 40 minutes, no matter what, it'll stop. The other one, the 8145, has got an extra termination. So it terminates by temperature as well. So it's time initiated. It starts at whatever, 12 o'clock, and it goes for 40 minutes. But if the coil reaches a certain temperature before the 40 minutes, it'll kick that defrost timer out early. Pretty cool, huh? So this is how they are wired and how they look. I'm gonna try and do this backwards a little bit. So these are your little terminals, and you'll see that is where the extra termination comes in. It's just not used. It is there, but it's just not used. And then on the 8145, same thing. You've got your little terminals here, but if you notice, your X terminal goes to this little like temperature sensor kind of thing. It's not a sensor. It's like a termination. So once that reaches a certain temperature, that will rise, bloop, and hit that, causing that to do some stuff. I'm not going to explain that much. But the cool thing is, and this is what I want to show you specifically, is you can relay what's on this piece of paper to what's on this defrost timer, which is so cool. Okay, so we're going to focus here on, there's terminal 1 and 2, 3 and 4. We got your neutral and your X, your termination. And that's where we can see here as well. You've got your 1 and 2, your 3 and 4, your N, neutral, and your X. And then on this piece here, between 1 and 2, you see there's like a solid line there. That is where this plate is, 1 and 2, solid line. Then on this page here, you see between terminals 1 and 3, that's normally open. And between 2 and 4, that's normally closed. And then on here, so here's your terminal 1 and 3. That was normally open, right? 1 and 3, normally open. So if we flip it over, we're going to be looking at this terminal and this terminal right here, 1 and 3. And you can see that little terminal is open and this little terminal is closed. You can see it's touching. I can open it and it's touching. So that's your 2 and your 4, normally closed. Okay, so now when we get the timer to go, this up here is your time. This right here indicates the time of day. So say right now it's like 2:30. So you would turn this until like 2.5 kind of thing. And then these guys here are your defrost intervals. So every 6 p.m., is that a 6? 6 p.m. and 6 a.m., midnight and midday, that's when your defrosts are going to happen. It's getting a little long-winded, I'm sorry, but this is exciting. Okay, so as this thing turns, now remember the normally open and normally closed on the back. Now, click, you hear that click. Now on the back, these are opposite. Oh, this is your 1 and your 3, which is normally open. That one is closed. And now you can see a gap between the 2 and the 4. That's usually closed. So now if we keep going and we get this thing out of defrost, come on baby, turn. There you go, out of defrost. Those little terminals changed again. So now we are open here and closed here. Let's do it one more time. I'm gonna keep doing this so you can maybe see. Okay, ready? Click. See this plate? It moved. Okay, I'm done. You're all learned out about defrost timers now. Perfect. Today's job, we were called to our meat supplier and they're like, hey, the water pump is not working. So in their back, they've got like the storage room. In the back, they've got a bunch of condensate drain lines that all like funnel into this bucket. And they've got a submersible pump inside the bucket. So everything funnels into the bucket, it fills up, the pump shoots it up onto the roof and out of the building. And so when we arrived there, the bucket was full. It was a big puddle around it. And so we take a little bit of a look at it, and it turns out that they're doing some like cleaning or rejigging or something in that area. They had a bit of a rodent problem in the past, so I think they're finally like properly addressing that, because it seems like they're just taking everything out of that room and cleaning it, like sanitizing it. Anyway, so they've moved some of the shelving out from the wall, and by doing that, they just knocked the bucket. So the pipe that discharges the stuff from the pump just dislodged itself from the pump itself. So the pump was still working, but it was pumping into itself, like pumping into the bucket. So it was overflowing and getting all crazy. Okay, I'm not shaming anyone or whatever, but they're redoing stuff in here because they had a bit of a rodent problem. And they used to have shelving all the way to the very end of this. And I guess because someone moved it, they totally knocked everything out of the sink over there. But then also this got knocked out as well, this drain. So that was just falling onto the floor, creating a large puddle right here. Taking a look at that bucket and that pump, oh my goodness, it is so disgusting in there. It is like full of really thick, snotty slime. And then Trevor took off one of the pieces of the condensate line that's coming down. There was just a piece that we're able to remove so that we could pull the bucket out without making a much bigger mess. And he just gave it one shake, and this whole snake, this slimy snake came out. Oh, that's nasty. Gross. Anyway, so we took the whole bucket and the pump and everything, we took it outside, we hosed it down, we got rid of all of that slime. So gross. And then we put everything back together and it was good to go. Oh, we're low on these. Alright, we're all clean now.
Okay, going on?
Going on. Beautiful.
But I have to turn on.
Yes!
It didn't turn off the last time. But...
No, I remember, yeah. Yes! Yes, yes! And the last story before I go. If you're wondering what happened at the Pilates studio this week, so annoying. So annoying. We're gonna have to make a 4th visit for this now. It's ridiculous. Visit number 1, there was a problem. We found that it was a transformer. Visit number 2, we replaced the transformer and it blew immediately. We've got more work to do. Visit number 3, replace the transformer again, tried to figure out the thermostat problem, found a whole bunch of other stuff happening there. Visit number 4, hopefully we'll get it done. So this is what we found. So we replaced the transformer. We added a fuse this time, which blew. Thank goodness we had the fuse. It's a bit of a long-winded story, but keep in mind that every time we've worked at this Pilates studio, we've been rushed. We have a very small window of time before they have classes, and they start to be like, how much longer are you gonna be? And they're like, we've got a class at 9 o'clock. So every time we've been there, it's been a rush. And every time we've been there, we've uncovered something more because we've never had the time to spend to get the whole story. So our plan for this place was to replace the transformer and also rerun the thermostat cable. But when we started investigating, we found that the cable going into the thermostat on the wall was different to the cable coming out of the unit on the thermostat. So Trevor did a bit of investigation and we found the thermostat wire from the unit going into a wall behind a mirror. So they have 5 units in that little tiny space, which is interesting, and only 4 thermostats. So we need to install a brand new thermostat in order to get that unit running. The thermostat cable that we did find there was just so mangled. So because all of these ends are taped up together, that's causing our issue. Also the fact that there's no actual thermostat attached to this fucking thing. It was frayed in a bunch of places. It looked like it'd been folded in half in a bunch of places and actually broken through. Like it looks like nicks, but I think they're just breaks. So anyway, by the time we figured all of that out, again, she was like, how much longer? So we're thinking maybe next week we can go while they're having a bit of a quiet time and we can go and spend a bunch of hours and get the whole thing sorted out. There's some weird stuff happening there. They've done some weird tenant improvement stuff. They didn't want the building to be involved. They wanted to do their own stuff. Like they brought their own project manager in, they brought their own construction company. And now we're finding all of these extra things. Just to make things a little bit more interesting, up there, there's two thermostats, one here, one here. So inside the wall, there's 2 identical cables that kind of like crisscross on the inside. Oh, tell us the best part.
They ran the thermostat wire underneath the T-bar ceiling.
Oh my god, great.
You'll see it when you
Wanna go up? Okay, let's go see. Let's go see. All right, we need a light. Oh, there she goes. That's silly. Lovely. Look what else we just found. That is drywall dust. Nice blanket. Like for example, they've got a unit there right at reception where they've drywalled right up to the unit and like onto the unit. So drywall is literally touching the unit, and every time that unit starts up and vibrates, which it will because there's a compressor inside, and that's what they do, the whole thing shakes and it makes a noise. And she's like, my staff can't hear my customers on the telephone. So she's like, fix it. And we're like, well, this is what's happened. And in order to like even access that unit, you've created a solid ceiling around it. So we're gonna have to get into it. And she's like, oh no. She's like, we can just install a new unit around the corner, whatever. She's like, my favorite part about this whole conversation is she's like, it's simple. It's simple, lady. You don't have any idea. All right, guys. Well, that's all the adventures I have for you this week. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the HVAC Diaries HVAC vlog. This might be my last vlog for the year. I am working on another piece of content for you, which I will post next week if it's ready. It's a bit of an undertaking, but I'm excited about how it's turning out. So yes, maybe one more vlog next week, maybe not. It kind of depends on what happens. If we're quiet, I'm probably gonna take a few extra days off between Christmas and New Year. If not, we will be busy, and that's fine. But please have a very, very Merry Christmas if you celebrate Christmas, or Happy Holidays if you don't. I hope you get a bit of time to relax and enjoy the festive times with family and friends and loved ones. And just thank you so much for being here and being part of the HVAC Diaries. I just love making these vlogs for you guys. I love the comments that I receive, and it's just really good to be here. All right, so with that, I'll see you guys next time. Bye. And they've got a they've got a submersible. That's a word. Thanks. Duct, supply. It's basically a hole. I guess it would be a duct. Anyway, so you put the plate in there, and that burns, and then between that is open. Yeah. So everything is in the bucket. It goes into the bucket. And so there's a pipe. The pipe that discharges, it's all got like pipes and everything. The pipe goes into another pipe, so it goes. Ah!